Hello, everybody, and welcome to Insert Title Here. I'm your host, Austin Kennedy, President and CEO of Wright Service Corp. So first time in the batter's box for us all today, so bear with us. In this podcast series, we're going to talk to a cast of characters from the environmental sciences and UVM industries. And maybe in so doing, shine a little bit of a light on our fascinating but totally under the radar industry. And we'll almost certainly add things, change things, and make some things up because this is our podcast. It's new, and I've literally never done this before. So we will make it up as we go along. Today, we have the good fortune of, on our inaugural episode, our first guest ever, no pressure, Bill, who is joining us from Arborwear. Arborwear provides the tree care, vegetation management, and landscape industry with workwear that enhances safety, increases employee retention, and boosts profitability through the design, manufacture, and distribution of apparel, personal protective equipment, footwear, and tools used on the job. And I might add, based on the pieces that I've owned, that the clothes look good, they fit really good, and they are very well constructed. Here today, or at least looking at me on my screen, is the self-described team captain, Mr. Bill Weber. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Thanks, Austin. Glad to be here. And, knowing that we can't do any wrong because this is the very first one is very comforting. So very, very excited.
I'm sure we will prove you wrong many times in that regard.
Good.
Bill has been with Arborwear since 2000. And prior to that, all the way back in 1986, right out of high school, Bill started his own small residential tree care business and continued with that through college. In other words, Bill started out as an arborist, which helps him understand the importance of proper workwear in our industry. As I suggested at the top, you are our first guest, Bill. So the upside is that you will literally be the best guest that we've ever had. The potential downside is that an awful lot rides on your performance. You could literally make or break our show. No big deal.
Thanks for that.
And I've certainly seen you at a lot of events, but I've never really had the chance to hang out. So this will be a fun get to know you.
Looking forward to it.
Launching here into the nitty gritty. We just shared your bio, but I've got to ask, is it true that you are the descendant of the Weber grill family?
That's a good question. That's what I told my girlfriend when on our first date, and she promptly told all her girlfriends. And I think it was about a year later that I finally came clean that I was not the Weber grill family, and she was very, very distraught about that.
But at that point,
tree trimmer.
She was so far in at that point, though. It was your charm had overwhelmed her, and whether we had grills or not, she was in.
It didn't matter.
What do you, even if you're not a scion of the Weber family, what do you grill on?
Right now, I'm grilling on a Weber, actually. It'd be hard-pressed to own anything else. It's got my name on it.
No doubt. And for better or worse, they are not a sponsor of the show. So we're just, we're always in the business of finding sponsors. So you are an industry dude, but I associate you first and foremost in my mind with Will Nutter, the former president of Wright Tree, who passed away back in 2021 after a tragic motorcycle accident. Could you tell me, Bill, take me in the Wayback Machine and tell me how you met Will, and what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear his name?
I hear that laughter. I hear him laughing, and I still have recordings of him laughing, and I play that if I'm ever having a bad day. But I always think of Will, no matter where you were, if he came up to you, you knew you were going to just have a good conversation, and he just treated you like the most important person in the room. And I think I met Will, gosh, I don't even know. It was probably 15 years ago at probably a trade show. But we hit it off really well and spent a lot of time together over the years. And I just really appreciated his approach to people. He didn't have any false airs about him. He knew right where he stood, and he was always fun to be around. And every time I talked to him, I learned something. So he set the bar pretty high in my opinion, and influenced a lot of what we do here today, both in our business and how we like to treat people.
Absolutely. Yeah, I miss him a lot. And do you really have recordings of him laughing?
I do. I absolutely do.
Wow, that's cool. What a
I'll
what a
I
what a
I have
nice
one in a
thing.
text. I've got a text video. I can send it to you. You'll just crack up when you hear it.
Awesome, awesome. I would love that. He did have a great laugh. We had offices that were adjoining, and so I could hear him cackling on the phone every now and then, and
It was
it
a
was
cat.
yeah, it was a cackle. And you dudes, you went on like fishing trips every now and then, right?
Yeah, we did some fishing trips and hunting trips and spent a lot of time together. You know, we sort of carved out early on a very small, tight-knit group to spend some time together that were like-minded, and we just kept building on those adventures every single year, and they were just a highlight of the year, traveling together and laughing and sharing war stories and just different philosophies, and always came back to the fact that, no matter where we left off, it didn't matter how much time went by, we just picked up like it was the next day, and really, really miss those times.
Gotta love it when you've got like legitimate friends that you work with. You know what I mean? It seems that's where people always say love what you do, but in those instances where you actually have people that you care about, that you look forward to seeing, that's where the line between work and fun really blurs and one turns into the other. So that's cool.
Absolutely.
So, sort of veering here from the personal to the professional. First legitimate question that I could think of for you is why does the UVM industry need specialized clothing or workwear?
It's a really good question, and I guess I can go back to when I had my own small tree care business. There was not uh, an option for people climbing trees to wear. It was always either stiff canvas workwear or it was really expensive mountaineering or rock climbing clothing that just really wouldn't withstand the rigors of climbing trees. So personally, I used to lay my clothes in the driveway and I'd drive over them to soften up the canvas. My
Wow,
mom would yell
seriously.
at me. Yeah, my mom would yell at me for leaving my clothes in the driveway, but that was the only thing that would, soften them up. 2 weeks of sun and rain and driving over them.
Like
Um,
an old baseball mitt, right? My dad
that's
used to always
exactly it. Yeah,
drive over my baseball mitts.
there's a break-in procedure.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea was to make something that was comfortable, that you could climb in, that you had the flexibility and the mobility, but that was still tough and
Hmm.
durable. And you didn't want a lot of, loose fabric hanging out anywhere. Little things for our customers make a big difference. You ask, why is it important? Well, if you're wearing a sweatshirt that has drawstrings that are hanging into a running chainsaw, you can imagine it's a pretty bad result.
Bad
Uh,
news. Yep. Yep.
so we don't make a sweatshirt with a drawstring. We don't make a lot of big baggy clothing that can get caught on branches or pockets that pucker open when you're working and get caught on a branch and can increase a hazard. So little details that we spend time on that actually affect safety on a job site. That's sort of how we started, and that's what we're still doing today.
Yeah, that point about the puffy clothes is interesting because what I've in some, I'm candidly not a guy that started working in the industry, so I don't have that work experience. But what I've always enjoyed about your clothes is that they fit well, and whether that's a lack of puffiness or that's because they've been trimmed in light of safety, they still look good, right? They're a little bit more form fitting, so that's just a little bit of an added feature, I guess.
Sure. Working people in the field, they need to be able to move,
Hmm.
but they have to have something that protects them from the elements, and they also have to, keep warm when it's really cold. I mean, every single one of our folks in the field, end users, they're working up a sweat at some point during the day, but then they're also sitting at a bucket for a little while, or maybe
Right.
sitting in the truck, or walking a job site, and they're not sweating. So you have to, combine unique fabrics with unique designs, unique styles that make a difference. And if you add up all these little subtle differences on a job site, we hope we can affect safety in some way.
Yeah, that's a great point. So what is it about Wright's highest value is safety. We always say that our men and women work hard, and nothing that we do in any day is worth not going home over, right? So, what is it that your clothes do that essentially help and promote safety?
You know, we try and take every little garment, every design, every feature of what we do, um, and have it impact safety in some way. So in an industry where the fatality rate is 30 times higher than any other industry measured by OSHA, we have got to do things to affect safety on a job site. And as many things as you can do from your side of the fence, we're trying to do things on our side to help you. And when you put employees in garments that increase safety and reduce hazards on a work site, those things add up, and we hope to move the needle. So in particular, there's things that, in terms of temperature regulating, there's
Hmm.
things that keep garments from getting caught in machines, getting caught on branches. We make a lot of PPE, personal protective equipment. I can go through details on those garments and things that make those uniquely fitted for our job. But all of those things, when they add up to impart a safer work site, that's our goal. That's what we do.
Cool. Bill, how did you break into the industry? How did you arrive on this idea of like there's a lot of different things you could have done to kind of be in an ancillary support role with the UVM industry, but why close?
Again, I think it goes back to me laying my clothes in the driveway and driving over them for 2
Yeah.
weeks at a time.
Yeah.
And, I knew there was a need, and it was underserved. And the tree care industry and the veg management industry it's a lot like the military. It's a very unique group of people that feel a real kinship with each other, and they put their lives in each other's hands. And no matter where you go in the world, people understand the job and they understand the risks and they look out for each other. So for us, it was a natural to design and develop something in this niche. It's where we found the greatest success. We understood it. We knew what made it work, and we continue to push the design elements to deliver products that make a difference.
And so how do you move from design to implementation? What sort of testing, field testing or whatever, what do you do to ensure that your clothes, your workwear meets your the reality meets your design expectations?
I'm not gonna lie, Austin. We've designed a lot of stuff that didn't make the cut. And,
I'm
there's a
sure.
lot of things that, we've made mistakes, but we keep trying and we put stuff out there. We'll design and develop a prototype or, a group of sales samples, and we'll put them on a bunch of tree folks. We'll put them on men and women in the field. We'll let them wear them for 6 months or a year, and we'll, just absolutely tell them to abuse these products and find out where they fail.
Mhm.
And we'll understand fabrics that hold up better. We'll understand seams that may or may not blow out. We'll understand why pockets done a certain way will make a difference. We make a sweatshirt with a pocket that is recessed and it's vertical, not like a typical kangaroo pocket
Mhm.
on a sweatshirt. And what that does is it lays flat so it doesn't get caught on branches. And it also keeps sawdust out of the pocket. There's not a tree person around that's run a
Right.
chainsaw and worn a sweatshirt that didn't have sawdust filling up the pockets and
Right.
somebody at home yelling at them for bringing sawdust into the dryer. Um,
That's amazing.
so little things make a difference like that. And if we can keep affecting safety on, that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep pushing it.
And, speaking of, like, different iterations that your clothes, your workwear has had, I when I was researching to get ready for this interview, came across, I don't know if it's a legend or a true story about some your first pair of jeans that you put out and having to work with the zipper a bit to make sure it was meeting your expectations. Could you share that tale with us?
Yeah, we were really excited. We made canvas pants for a number of years, and everybody was asking us to make jeans because everybody worked in jeans. So
Yeah.
we started making blue jeans, and we were so excited about our first run of blue jeans. We made 1,000 pairs of blue jeans, and the factory had used a fraudulent zipper.
A fraudulent zipper.
Fraudulent. We didn't know such a thing existed. But
No.
every zipper has a lock. And if you don't have a lock, the zipper goes down. Well, they use these zippers without locks. So you put on these great fitting pair of blue jeans and you zip up your zipper and you take 2 steps and immediately your fly is down all the way.
Problem.
Every single 1,000 pairs of pants had bad zippers. So we had to, I think we sold every pair for about $5 a piece just to get them out the door. And it was a big learning lesson, but
I bet even for a bunch of guys roaming around a tree site, I can imagine that would be a problem.
Yeah, you don't want that on the job site.
Does anybody outside of YKK make zippers?
They do, and that's what we mandate in all the design of every product we make. They're YKK zippers.
YKK.
This was the one time we did not.
Who knew we would get to YKK zippers today?
Yep.
So, for a long time, the UVM industry was very male dominated, and thankfully it's evolving, and there's a lot more women joining the workforce nowadays. How has Arborwear adapted to be able to meet the demand with more women in the workplace?
It's a great question. In the first few years, we made like 4 different waist size canvas pants, and that was it. And then every time we'd get a little bit bigger, we took on another customer, we'd have to make another waist size. And we made men's pants for probably 6 or 7 years before we started making women's. And the first women's clothing we designed them myself, and they were terrible. They didn't fit. I know nothing about women's clothing. Hard for me to put something on and tell you it was good.
Right.
But we got a design team that really mastered the fit of women's products. And every customer we added, we found that there were more and more women in the industry. And not just women, but people of all shapes and sizes. So we have built a sizing selection in our most common products to adapt to that. And our best-selling pants we now make in women's. Our best-selling sweatshirts we make in women's. Our best-selling t-shirts we make now in women's. And if we are going to become a supplier to the industry, we got to fit all people. And more customers like Wright are hiring more and more women. And if you're trying to include them and keep them safe on a job site, the last thing you want to do is put something that does not fit well, that causes risk. And there's a lot of problems with the standards. There's a lot of problems with compliant clothing right now that are going to need to be addressed.
In what way?
So we have chainsaw protection, for example. We manufacture chainsaw chaps, and the standard says you have to have 28 square inches of blocking material.
Okay.
And I can promise you there's somebody in the right tree employment that has a shorter inseam than 28 inches. And that person's going to have to roll these chaps, create some sort of bunching. They're going to be too long for that person, and it's going to create a problem.
Right.
So we cannot make a pair of chaps with less than 28 inches of blocking material because we will be non-compliant. So that becomes a problem. Same thing with high visibility clothing. So the high visibility HVSA Class 3 compliant standard says you have to have a certain amount of square inches of not just reflective tape, but also a certain amount of square inches of background bright fabric.
Okay.
Now, that standard is ridiculous if you're a small person. It makes it so that shirt that you're wearing is like a dress.
Right.
So what do people do? They tuck it in. And when you tuck it in, you're tucking away half of the bright fabric. You're tucking in half of the reflective material. And so these standards have to catch up to the workforce, and they haven't in many years. And that's one of the things we're fighting for right now is to change some of these standards.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen in many instances when kind of where the conflict between the regulators and how regulations are implemented and actually affect the workplace, but I never considered how that would play out in clothing. And hearing that, especially a lot of women are more petite, smaller in general, and that notion of like the expansive coloring that you have to have, and how that would, also if you tuck something in, it's going to billow and be further unsafe, right?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Austin, think about helmets. Think about, hard hats. That's PPE. It's mandatory. You have to wear it
Right.
on the job. Do you
Right.
think there's a company out there that makes women's helmet in petite?
I'm sure not.
It's really hard to find.
Right.
And so here are these people we've invested in and that are counting on us to provide a safe workplace. But if we can't give them the right tools and the right PPE, then we got to make some changes.
Yeah. My parts of my crew and I were on a work site the other day, and we were just putting on hard hats, and we wrestled with these things for half an hour and made fools of ourselves trying to get them on, and then of course put it on, and it looked like a situation where I thought I looked like a person that had never put one on before. Maybe that's what had happened, but also maybe that's just the way it fit. I had no idea. So I found an expert, and they got me squared away.
It's not. There's so many things that can affect how you perform on a job site, the way things fit, the way
Yep.
things moderate your temperature. Overheating, heat stress is a huge focus right now on job sites.
Yep.
So how can we not just educate our people in the field, but how can we give them tools to stay cool? And a lot
Right.
of that has to do with what you're wearing.
Absolutely.
Back in the day, it was all about cotton. I want the big cotton waffle shirt, or I want, cotton T-shirts. Well, you'd be hard pressed to find,
Right.
people wearing cotton T-shirts in the field now. A lot of it's performance, moisture wicking materials that
Yep.
actually
Yep.
help you regulate and keep you cool in the job.
Just like working out, right?
You got it.
So I haven't really dug into your competitors, but I assume there are many, many out there. Help us understand, what is it that differentiates Arborwear from your competitors?
We do have a lot of competitors in a lot of different areas. We always look at what does somebody wear on a job site and where do they get it? There is a host of companies providing apparel and safety PPE for people in the field. I think we're some of the only ones that are really focusing on this niche, the tree care, veg
Hmm.
management, landscape industry. I think, some might say we're the only ones dumb enough to be treat people's clothing. But, when we focus on a niche, we feel like we are really addressing certain problems. But there's some great companies out there that are producing things that work great on job sites, that are high performance, that are super durable. There's some great PPE out there. There's some great things out of Europe. There's a lot. You just have to work hard to find it.
Hmm.
And typically, it's a company that does one thing really well, but maybe falls short on another area.
Right.
You can't be all things to all people, as you know.
Absolutely. Let's see here. So, where are you joining us from right now?
We are in Chagrin Falls, Ohio. It's up by Cleveland,
Okay.
and you couldn't probably tell if it's morning or afternoon now. We got the Cleveland gray skies going, but we're looking for some snow here. The colder the weather always helps us. You buy more sweatshirts and jackets when it's cold out.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So are you at your headquarters or what?
We are. Yep, we're at
Okay.
our distribution. We have a retail store, distribution center, and our logo department.
Yeah. My marketing team has been out there, and they say it's really cool. Why don't you describe it for us a little bit?
We moved into this old industrial building, and it's about 100,000 square foot building. It's got overhead cranes in every room. They were doing heavy manufacturing here, and we sort of retrofitted one of the main manufacturing areas into a large format retail store.
Hmm.
Has bleachers and a stage. We host a lot of trainings.
Wow. Cool.
We've got our whole warehouse. We've got our offices. We've got a whole logo department. We've got indoor and outdoor training areas, so we can host companies if they want to do safety training or climbing and rigging or aerial rescue. We do all that in-house.
Awesome. Wright is about to finish its own safety training center, and that's going to be really, really cool. Not exactly sure when the groundbreaking will be, but you will certainly be on the list
I
when
would
we're
love to
gonna.
see it. After hearing all the stories about it, I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, yeah. It's been quite the project, but it's going to be a real cool differentiator.
You know,
Putting our money where our mouth is with safety, right?
I got to tell you, your safety team has inspired a lot of the way we do things for meetings, for training. And if you want to talk about a team that sets the bar high, I've not seen any other that does it like your team.
I completely agree. I mean, Wes Gilgis and his squad, Warren, Christian, all those dudes. I mean, we do this, general performance school here in Des Moines, and this will be moved to the new safety center once we get it completed. But I go to this and try to describe to the guys before they start the school what they're going to go through. And to me, it's really like the closest thing that we have to like a cultural heart transplant, right? I mean, not only are these guys learning the best in class roping and rigging, climbing techniques, safety techniques, but like whether they've been at a competitor or they're new to the industry, what Wes and his team are able to do within 5 days is instill in them the ability to be credible leaders in safety, but also to understand and to emulate what makes Wright the best at what we do. And that is, to me, that's amazing. And that is so powerful. And it is absolutely one of those key differentiators from our competition. So I agree. That has been an incredible part of Will Nutter's legacy. I mean, he hired Wes. It was kind of one of those, choose your direction points in the company evolution. It could have gone one way. That probably would have been the easier way. Hire kind of one of the more traditional safety guys, or hire somebody who's going to shake it up a bit. And hiring Wes and his squad, and the way that Wes has built talent up from that squad in terms of understanding that they have to be able to speak Spanish. You know what I mean? If you cannot communicate with the people with whom you're working and train them up in their own native language, how in the world are you going to ever get them to understand what's expected of them? So thank you for saying that. It is truly one of the aspects of Wright that I am most proud of.
I've seen a lot of people, I've known a lot of people on your safety team before they were on your safety team.
Mm-hmm.
Having been in this industry for 25 years, you get to know a lot of the people that are making a difference. And when they come to Wright, it's like a religious experience.
Yeah.
They change and they do things, and what I've seen them do is just it's phenomenal. It's like I said, they really inspired us to do a lot of the things that we're doing, and really value their input and their experience.
Awesome. Well, we'll look forward to having you join us for that groundbreaking.
Love that.
How long have you been in the industry, Bill?
25 years with Arborwear. So,
Okay.
Obviously I think I told you I ran my own tree care business
Mm-hmm.
for a number of years, through college and after college. Had I known the industry was this big back then, I'd probably still be doing trees. But
Right.
I've been working Arborwear for about 24, 25 years now.
Wow. Cool. Well, 2.5 decades. When you look back on things right now, what do you think has been the largest change in the UVM industry?
High visibility.
High vis.
Yep. I think, back
Why
in the
so?
day, we sold more green sweatshirts and black sweatshirts and black t-shirts and green t-shirts. Now every single company is of the mindset not only to be compliant,
Mm-hmm.
but, nobody's trying to camouflage their people anymore
Right.
in low light conditions, where everybody's trying to dress people in bright colors so they light up a job site. And the UVM industry, it's all about compliance, class 3, class 2 compliance. So our business is transformed into supplying those compliant garments. But I think, this attention to fit and changing the standards is going to be another big change.
Yeah. And I mean, I think in some ways that advent of the high vis is about professionalizing and attracting people to the workforce too, right? I mean, nobody who really wants to come to work and be camouflaged on a roadside tree crew, right? I mean, that's not exactly a great recruiting pitch that you're going to be, maybe having to dodge cars as you're working on the side. So that's awesome. I think it's been a mutually beneficial arrangement.
Indeed.
So as I said at the beginning of this podcast, our current working title is insert title here for the name of our podcast. And you, my friend, are a branding guy. So I'm going to lean on you for a little bit of feedback on what our podcast name should be. I have 3 choices for you to consider, my friend. Choice number 1 is chopping it up. Choice number 2 is minimum approach distance. And choice number 3 is treating you to another podcast. What say you, my friend?
Chopping it up, I don't think that's not the top of my list.
Okay. And I should say too that let's evaluate these 3 and then you can suggest.
I might knock out chopping it up and put in something like a view from the bucket. Or I like minimum approach.
Okay.
Maybe how about something like what's a scrunch?
What's a scrunch? All right, let's chase that one down. What in the world is a scrunch?
Well,
what is it?
I'm
asking
ask
you.
Some of your folks.
Okay, good. I like that idea. Propose something that nobody knows about. They have to look into it to find out. Good. Well, I think you and I need some help here, Bill. So we're gonna keep workshopping and see if we can come out. Maybe we have bottomed out with all 3 of these names.
That's why I have a marketing team.
Right. I feel you.
They kicked me off of that one a long time ago.
Me too. All right, Bill, this has been awesome. And whether or not you're the first guest, I think you've set a very high standard that the rest of our future guests are going to have to rise up to. By chance, are you going to be taking in TCI Winter Management this year?
Indeed I will.
Awesome. Well, maybe you and I will have to find a time to do interview part 2 from the beach. All right.
I think that's a good idea.
All right, man. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it, Austin. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks
Bill.
for having me.
All right. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on, for lack of a better title, Insert Title Here. Once again, I'm your host, Austin Kennedy. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please leave any questions that occur to you in the comment section below. And if you have any clever ideas for our show name, you can add those to the comment section as well. And make sure to join us for our next interview. See you soon.